Alright, we're back in the shop with the Fairmont, and I got the engine put together over the weekend. So this is a L92 bottom end. It has the Summit 8710 R1 cam in it, and I think it's like 230, 242, 625, 605 on a 113 plus 3. And these are the Liberty heads. We've got the nice rocker arms on them that we got from Michael. They got the trunnion upgrade in them and everything. We got our hardened push rods in it. Checked our preload on them. We had a half-turn preload, and we should be good there. We got our intake manifold in today. This is a ported mod rod intake manifold. So these were originally come up with by Rick Crawford, and it has two rods that run through the length of the manifold. And you can see back here, these are where they are in the manifold and run the whole length. So the thought process behind that is the way the runner comes up in the intake with the rod across the top, it creates a radius that helps the airflow. And Rick's intakes were good, allegedly, for 25 wheel horsepower, just from taking a stock LS3 intake and putting on a mod rod ported Rick Crawford. They claim 25 wheel horsepower. Now, people have tried to replicate what he did, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is, because I think I was told that Rick would sign them here or somewhere on there on the intake, but I guess people saw what they did and tried to replicate it. Maybe Rick had a better understanding of how to do it, but anyway, I'll be curious to see how it does. There were also like 3 columns spaced in the intake, and then they cut those out and then epoxy the bottom. And the ports didn't really look like they were ported on it, so I don't know if they did or not. This came off of a guy, one of my Caprice friends, when I was looking for an intake, asking around, and he had this one. So, well, he had a stock when he had this one. I was like, well, I'd like to see how it does, because this is very similar to the CTSV engine. It's the same bottom end, same heads, not the exact ones, but an L92 bottom end, the same Liberty heads. We got a bigger camshaft, we got a ported intake, and this time we're running the 100 per hour injectors, because we were out of duty cycle with the flex PPV injectors we had on the other setup. So, and this being an automatic and everything, we'll probably be closer to out of injectors. So with 100-pound injectors, we should be good. So I'm hoping with this setup through an automatic, through the 8.8, I'm hoping to get a solid 500 tire with this setup. And I think it's possible. I think the cam should be sufficient to pull that off. And we got a better flowing exhaust. We got the 1 7/8 long tubes. We got a full 3.5-inch exhaust, and as least restriction as possible in the exhaust system. And then we'll make sure we got a good solid cold air intake with a box and everything over here to put the filter, so we won't be pulling underhood air. And I really want to make over 500 at the tire with this setup. And I think it should be around 3,000 pounds, and then with the 6-speed and everything, I think it'll be a very fun street car. So I've got to pull the mock-up engine out, get my oil pan off, and put it on here. And then this is ready to go. And then we'll put our converter over here. We'll put the converter in, and I need to put the dipstick tube in while I got the engine out, because there's just not enough room. Unfortunately, I didn't leave myself enough room back there. So when I pull the mock-up engine out, I'm going to fit the dipstick tube and then finish tidying up everything under here with the fitment of the headers and all. And then once the dipstick tube is in and everything's ready to go, then we'll put the 6.2 in. I've got to finish welding up and making the engine mounts, and all that still mock up. So they're made and tack welded and all, so I got to pull them out, plate them, and finish welding them and get that together. Now we got a regulator there, and luckily on the LS3 you can flip the fuel rail around and have the input over here, because on the car it's over on this side. So that's a good thing about the way the intake's made. You can flip it around on either side. So this will put me where I need to be since my regulator's right there. And I got the fuel lines finished up under the car. I got my battery box in. I want to run the battery here, obviously, because I put the box. And and I got the HVAC box ready to go. Again, on the tunnel, I'm just waiting to get the dipstick tube in before we get crazy and close it up. And so I'd like to clearance it a little more around there, and again, just make sure that everything fits before we close it all up. We got our shifter on. I still got to adjust that. I haven't had time to do that, but I got this relay kit or hot wire kit or whatever for the fuel pump. So I'm going to get that in, run to the fuel pump, and I'm starting on my wiring now, because that's the next logical progression. Is now we're at the point where I've got to start working on the wiring. So what I'm going to do is put the coil packs on, valve cover and everything, and close the motor up. And then I'm going to take my wiring harness and plug everything in, and then delume it and try to lay it out where it fits the engine better, because this is the truck configuration. And some of the things we're not going to be using, like the secondary O2s. Obviously the DOD isn't there anymore. But I think that's really about it. There's really not a whole lot to thin out of the harness. We've got our cam. Of course, that's a cam VVT connector. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I guess I'll just leave that and use the VVT plug. And then these are the connectors here. So there's not really a lot of wires that go to this compared to like the P59s and stuff like that. It just seems like there's a lot more wires when you look at the schematics for this. There's really not a whole lot of wires. You have this plug, and you have this plug, and then you have this one there that they cut. So typically pink is your keyed power, and again, when you do these, you want to make sure that they're hot in start and run, because if they're only hot in run, then when you go to start, it loses power and it won't crank up. So you need to make sure that those are there. Obviously the purple one's starter, and then since this is an E38, I've been trying to do more research on it, and the this runs through a BCM. So I'm not going to be running a BCM, and from my research, I found that you can do the tap shift and everything without a BCM. You change some settings in HP tuners, and obviously have to have the shifter wired up. So another thing I learned is with the OBD2, apparently you have to run 120 ohm resistor between two pins to make sure you have 60 ohms between them. So I didn't know about that. So I'm just trying to learn what I can before I get into it. But make sure I have all the documentation and everything printed out so I can just start laying it out and going. But I don't know, it's kind of scary because it seems like it's straightforward, and that'll get you in trouble sometimes. So this is a 2010 Silverado harness, and so I've got the ECU, and then that transmission that's in the car is all this came with it. So that's good. The other thing is we got the accelerator pedal right here, and I was looking at it, and I don't know why GM did this, but if you look at it, it kicks it way over to the right. So that's going to put it in the transmission tunnel. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to cut this and make it come straight down or something. I remember seeing a forum a while back where somebody had cut and modified it or whatever, because I really don't want to buy another pedal because I have this one and it works with this ECU. Now the other thing is, I don't know what this goes to, this plug. I'm not sure what that goes to, but this right there goes, I think it goes to the BCM, I think. But anyway, I've got to figure out where this ties into the harness. So that'll be 6 wires from here that'll integrate into one of these 3 plugs. So we've got keyed power, constant power, OBD2, pedal, fuel pump, and fans. I probably already said that, but so anyway, that's what I'm working on now. I don't want to take it out of the delimit yet. I think it would be best to connect everything as much as I can onto the engine, make sure everything is plugged in, the injectors, the coil packs, the throttle body, and the map sensor, because the map sensor, since we're using a car intake, all this is going to be in different places than it was on the truck. And then again, this is just for the cam position sensor, so it's a 3-wire connector, and then that harness is set up for the VVT and the cam. So I may have to put that connector on there just so it'll plug in the harness. I guess unless I could repin that one over there and pull out the wires I don't need and just use that would be a lot cleaner. So I may try to do that. But this is the throttle body that was off the 2010 Silverado, so I'm going to run that. This is the map that came with this intake, so I'll either have to pull the numbers off of it and look up the data for this, or just run the one off the other one. The other thing is he didn't give me the bolts for the intake, so I got to get some intake bolts. These are the rear oil pan bolts, and they're pretty close. So I may could cut some threads off and use those or something, but I don't know. I'll go look in a minute and see if I can find a cheap set to strap it down. But yeah, it's coming together slowly but surely. I know it's this one seems like it's taking a while, but it's been a lot of work and a lot of stuff going on with it, so it's getting there. And I think, once we get the real engine in and everything, and get the wiring sorted and figured out, it should go pretty smoothly. And get the dash in, and just the more you get together on it and the more complete you get it, it makes you feel better. And then you get to the point where you have to hear it run to be able to continue on, because it's just something about hearing it run that just gives you the motivation to continue and finish it, because it can be daunting getting to this point. So I left the studs in it, and I hate studs. I cannot stand head studs. They're the biggest pain. But anyway, they were in there, and I didn't feel like changing it. So they are ARP head studs, so they're probably worth more than the motor because they ARP. But anyway, another thing my buddy did that with the wagon he had is on the back tire, or for the spare tire in the back, he took a he put a the original spare in here, and he put a drilled holes in the back side of the tire and just filled it with lead weights until it was like a couple 100 pounds, and it really helped him out on the street. So we might have to do that to kind of scale it and see where we're at on that and see how it hooks up. But I mean, initially it doesn't matter. If somebody has a picture they can send me of how or where the handle is to release this, I would really like to see it, because I have the piece that goes in here, but I don't have the handle part, and I think it goes up here, but I can't visualize how it goes to release it. So if somebody has a picture of that and they could send me, I would really appreciate that. And I don't know how the lock mechanism, I just don't know how any of this works, because I've never seen a wagon or paid attention to that part of it. But I do have another Fairmont badge that's not broken there. So right now it's just an Earmont Squire. And luckily the tail lights are good on it and everything. I don't think either of the backup lights are there, but from what I've noticed, that seems to be a common problem, is they miss I guess they fall off or something. But you know, it's 45 years old, so we'll give it a pass. But I think the shifter looks pretty cool. It would be neat to have the tap shift on there. It's got 4 wires in the shifter, so it'd be nice to be able to put it in the tow haul mode and to be able to tap shift it. So I'm excited to see how that works, if that works, and excited to see what kind of power this thing will make. So again, I'm hoping with that camshaft and with the ported intake, the good exhaust and everything, that we'll be able to make the 500 tire with it and be around the 3,000 pound mark. So hopefully the next video, maybe we'll have this engine in there and at least have the wiring figured out or something. So, but anyway, that's the update on it for now.